Imagine a moment. You are sitting next to someone you love. They are talking to you, their eyes looking straight into yours. And in that moment, you feel something that is not happiness, but rather a pulling away, a vague urge to step back, a whisper somewhere inside saying, this is too much, that you need to create distance, that this closeness is somehow more dangerous than it is safe, and you do not know why. You are not a cold person. You know that. You feel everything deeply, sometimes even more deeply than most people around you. But something inside you keeps pulling you away from the very things you want most. You want to be loved, but you sabotage it the moment love gets close. You want to be understood, but you build walls the moment someone starts to actually reach you. You are alone and you feel lonely, but when someone is beside you, you feel trapped. This is not a choice. This is not your personality. This is a very old wound, operating like an operating system, running beneath every decision you make in your relationships. And the darkest truth about avoidant attachment is not that it makes you hard to love or hard to be loved. The darkest truth is that it makes you believe isolation is freedom, that needing no one is strength, that the wall you built to protect yourself is protecting you from pain, when in reality, it is protecting that pain from ever being healed. There is something you have never truly looked straight at. And by the end of this video, you will understand why. Not to judge yourself, but to breathe out after a very long time of holding your breath. John Bowlby, the man who laid the entire foundation of attachment theory in the 1960s and 1970s, did not begin his research from adult relationships. He started with children. More specifically, with children separated from their parents, and the way their nervous systems responded to the absence of a caregiver. What Bowlby recognized was not something sentimental, but something deeply evolutionary. Human beings are wired to attach. Seeking closeness with others is not a weakness or a dependency, but a survival mechanism carved into our biology over millions of years of evolution. But here is something very few people stop to think about. If the need to attach is instinct, what happens when the environment responds to that instinct with rejection, with indifference, with silence? What happens when a child learns that crying does not bring arms around them, but brings emptiness? That needing comfort does not create connection, but creates anxiety? Bowlby and later Mary Ainsworth, through their famous strange situation experiments, observed this with striking clarity. Some children, when left alone, and then reunited with their mother, didn't run to her. They kept playing as though she was not there. They were not indifferent to their mother. They had learned to act as though they were indifferent, because that was the only way to stop being hurt further. This is where everything becomes counterintuitive. We tend to think of avoidant attachment as an emotional deficiency, as though these people feel less, care less, love less. But modern neuropsychological research points to the exact opposite. People with avoidant attachment do not feel less. They tend to register emotional stimuli faster than others, and they are more sensitive to signals of rejection and threat. They are not cold. They are simply in a state of constant, exhausting emotional regulation, continuously holding a curtain between what they feel on the inside and what they allow themselves to show on the outside. Think about that for a moment. The calm you see on the surface is not peace. It is work. It is continuous and invisible effort. And that effort started very early, when a child's brain was in its most formative stage, building for itself a defense system with its own internal logic. That logic says, if I need no one, I will never be hurt by losing them. This is the dark thing that has not been said enough about this attachment style. And to truly understand it, we need to go a little deeper. There is a paradox sitting right at the center of avoidant attachment, and it is the hardest thing to look at directly. Avoidant people do not lack the desire for connection. Study after study, from psychology laboratories to therapy rooms, points to the same conclusion. They want love. They want closeness. They want to be seen and understood just as much as anyone else. But precisely at the moment when that possibility becomes real, at the moment someone gets close enough to touch their deepest layers, something in their nervous system pulls the alarm. Not a thought, not a conscious decision, but a reflex from the body, older than any reasoning, that says, danger. And this is the first micro-insight to hold on to. Avoidance is not coldness. It is self-protection that has outlived its purpose. It once made sense when you were a child of 4 or 5 years old, in a family environment where showing emotion brought rejection, or ridicule, or the cold silence of the adults around you. Learning to shut down your emotional needs was the smartest thing you could do. It was survival. But the human brain has no automatic mechanism to update a survival strategy when the context changes. By the time you grow up and step into a relationship with someone who genuinely wants to love you, that old system is still running. It does not know that the person standing in front of you now is not the person who once abandoned you. The protection no longer fits the threat. The second micro-insight lives in a concept Freud called defense mechanisms, but in a more developed form, shaped by therapists like Donald Winnicott. The split between the true self and the false self. Winnicott observed that when a child is constantly disrupted by their environment, constantly forced to adjust themselves to fit the expectations of a caregiver rather than being accepted as they are, that child develops a false self, a curated version of itself used to face the world. And the true self, with all its real needs, wounds, and longings, gets pushed deep down, stored in the safest place the child knows. Inside, far from the reach of others, adults with avoidant attachment are often highly successful on the outside. They can be enormously capable, self-sufficient, even admired for their composure. But on the inside, that true self is still waiting to be seen by someone safe enough, and at the same time, still believing that day will never come. But this is what sets up the third micro-insight, and it is the darkest one. Avoidant people are not only afraid of being hurt by others, they are afraid of themselves. More specifically, they are afraid of what will happen if they truly open up, if they truly need someone, if they truly love without holding any part of themselves back. Because deep in their nervous system, needing someone once meant losing control. And losing control in the body memory of that child meant collapse. No one wants to collapse. And so they manage, not by manipulating others, but by managing distance, by never allowing themselves to need too much, by always keeping an exit in mind, even when they are in someone's arms. Stop and ask yourself this. How many times have you felt genuinely close to someone and then quietly found a reason to pull back? How many times have you dismantled something good because it became too real, too meaningful? Have you ever noticed that you only truly want someone at the moment they start to leave, when distance is restored and your need is once again protected by their absence? And in the moment they actually show up, when they are here and want to stay, why does some part of you feel like it cannot breathe? This is the loop no one wants to admit to, not because it is shameful, but because it is too familiar to be visible. Like the air in a room, it is always there, but invisible, until someone opens a window and you suddenly notice the difference. Avoidant people are not the villains in their relationships. They are people fighting their own minds, with an old programming that continuously translates closeness into threat, that continuously turns someone who loves them into someone who imprisons them. that continuously whispers that freedom means being alone. And the darkest thing is not the loop itself. The darkest thing is that avoidant people often do not realize they are in it. They experience the withdrawal as natural. They experience distance as preference. They call emotional isolation needing space, and they fully believe it, because their brain has no other reference point. The need for attachment has been buried deep enough to become invisible even to the person carrying it. So what do you do with all of this? Not you in some general sense, but you, the person watching this video right now, the person who recognized something in what was just said. There is no formula. There is no simple list of steps. But there are shifts in awareness, movements in how you understand yourself that can begin to slowly thaw what has been frozen. The first shift is to stop interpreting avoidance as identity and start seeing it as a strategy. This distinction matters more than it looks. When you think, "I am an introvert," or "I do not need anyone," you are describing yourself as though that is a permanent truth about who you are. But when you say, "My nervous system learned that keeping distance was safe," you are describing a reflex that can be unlearned. That difference is not small. Identity is fixed. Strategy is flexible. And the human brain, through the mechanism of neuroplasticity, is capable of forming new connections throughout an entire lifetime, not only in childhood. Imagine a trail in the forest that has been walked thousands of times until the grass can no longer grow back. That is the avoidant pathway in your brain. You cannot erase that trail, but you can begin walking a different one often enough that the grass starts to return on the old path. The question is, are you willing to feel disoriented for a while in order to find a new way? The second shift is learning to tell the difference between feeling suffocated and feeling touched. This is perhaps the hardest and at the same time the most important skill for someone with avoidant attachment. When someone comes close to you in a way that genuinely matters, your nervous system will send alarm signals. That feeling is real. Your body is truly sensing something. But the question is not, is this feeling real? But rather, what is this feeling actually about? When you are sitting in a deep conversation and feel the urge to reach for your phone, when you are in someone's arms and feel like standing up, that is not evidence that this person is wrong or that this relationship is a poor fit. That is evidence that closeness is happening, and your old system is responding exactly the way it was programmed to. Recognizing that distinction, even just 1 second before you act on the reflex, is a small revolution happening inside you. Can you stay just a little longer, even when everything in you wants to leave? The third shift is allowing yourself to need, without calling it, weakness. Needing to be loved is not dependency. Needing to be understood is not helplessness. Needing the presence of another person in your life is not the loss of your identity. These are things most of us already know intellectually, but do not feel in the body, because our bodies were taught the opposite very early on. The philosopher Martin Heidegger had a concept called being in the world, the idea that human beings do not exist as isolated islands, but always exist in relation to the world and to others. Isolation is not the natural state of a human being. It is an imposed state, a learned state, and it is never truly comfortable, no matter how familiar it feels. Every time you allow yourself to say, "I miss you," or "I need you right now," without immediately taking those words back or pretending they do not matter, you are doing something quietly courageous. Not because it is easy, but precisely because it is not easy at all. The fourth shift, and perhaps the one that requires the most time, is rebuilding trust, not through reasoning, but through repeated lived experience. No one changes their attachment style by reading about it. They change it by allowing themselves to be in small, sufficiently safe situations where vulnerability does not lead to abandonment, where needs are met rather than punished, where staying does not become a trap. That might be in therapy with a clinician who understands attachment theory. It might be in a friendship where you slowly, bit by bit, allow yourself to genuinely need the other person. It might be in a romantic relationship where both people are willing to sit with discomfort rather than run from it. If you are on this journey and something in this video has resonated with you, the comment section is where the most honest conversations tend to happen, and I read every single one. Subscribe so that videos like this one can keep finding their way to you on the nights you need them most. There is a paradoxical truth I want to leave with you. And this is where I think everything we have talked about today has been pointing all along. People with avoidant attachment are often described as people who fear intimacy. But that is not entirely accurate. What they actually fear is what comes after intimacy, specifically the vulnerability of having opened up and then being left. So they solve that fear in the way that seems most rational, never truly opening up, never giving anyone enough to lose, never needing enough to be hurt. And that solution works in a narrow sense. They do not get hurt in the way their body memory is afraid of, but they hurt in a different way, quieter and more continuous. The hurt of never truly being known by anyone, never truly being seen, never truly being touched. The paradox is here. The wall built to keep out pain becomes the deepest source of pain. The protection becomes the prison, and the freedom that avoidant people defend to the very end, the freedom to need no one, the freedom from being tied down, the freedom to always be able to leave, is never real freedom. It is loneliness given a different name. The most courageous thing is not needing no one. The most courageous thing is choosing to stay even when everything in you wants to leave. It is allowing yourself to be loved, even without knowing how it will end. It is trusting that not all closeness leads to abandonment, even while your body is still whispering the opposite. You are not broken. You were programmed to survive. And now, you get to choose to live.